Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd. Well, kind of what we were thinking would happen here as the sell-off from the OPEX took place. We got to 50%. A little bit of dip below in the aftermarket, but then that's just too attractive to institutional guys, and they just bought it all back up as they rebalanced, because we were talking about how they would be looking for discount, and they got it. And you can see we had the rejection of the white did not move above magenta, and that just creates the turnaround. Of course, a little resistance here at the ABM yellow. No difference from there. That ABM yellow is still at that 42.20 and 3/4. Not a shock. Of course, we knew the NASDAQ had still been in super strong relationship because of the rotation into tech after much deeper dip than the S&P had taken. So we all know where the money's headed to. Again, you still don't have any yield, even though there's the talk of Fed tapering sooner, or not for another year plus. So not really a shock there from a gold standpoint. It put in a little bit of the sell, filling in all the positive extremes it had from before. Still, this is that representation, though, that it's got a little bit further to go. However, it's still going to outperform probably in the near term. From a euro standpoint, of course, the recognition that taper will certainly make the U.S. more attractive somewhere down the road. This is just one of those where that balancing back from the extremes which we were at with the euro moving, because the eurozone is still kind of pathetic in relation to what's going on. Even with the situation in the U.S., and besides with the inflationary aspects in the U.S., prices are going to rise, but the overall growth rate will probably still far out eclipse what's going on in Europe. And of course, we were talking about Bitcoin for some time because it's kind of been dual replacement, and a lot of issues going on there. I mean, every time we saw the white NBI spike, we were looking for new lows back to the 0% lines, and it just keeps coming. So right up here from the latest peak, looking to head back down, and that's just been a pretty ugly shakeup throughout the whole setup there. Potential to get a DOC reset within the near term. It hasn't happened yet. We got closer to the steel getting at least back to the 0 point, but throughout this entire dip has not happened. So it's continuing to have difficulties from an intraday standpoint. So off the sell-off that took place for the previous day, made a new low, clear out all the weak hands, and buy setup there. You had magenta moving back over the white. You had green over DOC cyan. And it was off to the races from there. And that pretty much went through. Every time we were getting spikes of white, you still had DOC green over that cyan, which is usually when I give you those red boxes, because it's an indication that nope, that's not quite the setup that we're looking for. And then we burst into new highs with all the previous algo levels that had already been in there. And we did come across this spike again, still had it, but then DOC spread took place within there, so it was a matter of waiting for that magenta dip below the 33 level with corresponding white. Again, it took place right about here. You still had those strong NBI green, and it wasn't until we saw this latest breakdown that it really started to accelerate, filling in that zero setup from this configuration. So even within that super bullish, you still get the fills back in and taking out positive extremes. You should have few of them back there, and then all the way going back to this. Now, of course, there were positive streams throughout this entire early run-up. So if you go back and look at those, and you start to say, okay, yeah, I've got likely projection coming all the way back down to that 4170 range. We're already at a 4174, so it seems probable that on any additional sell signal, that will be the target range to go for. All in all, it's pretty clean action. It's just one of those where, when you get that bullish run and 50K was looking strong from early on in that reversal. And then it's just a matter of going with the trend, simply just following what is. But even within that, there was still plenty of short setups. And the same thing happens even within short configurations. You're going to get long pops that develop within it, and that's the nature of the mean reversion that you get from it. But in this case, fairly straightforward, following just what we see from DSC as well as the NBI action. In this case, you can see we're making higher highs, lower shakeouts, and not getting over that 15. Back when we were early on, you can see when it gets into that super rise level, you just got to stay with that until it starts to break down, and then you start making those higher highs on lower shakeout, and that's when you can start to look for opportunities to collect those gains on the longs and move out of that. But when it's going with it, it's one of those interesting ones where people always think, wow, it's got to come back from there. It's like, well, if you're in the roulette table and black keeps coming, there's no reason to believe that red's going to pop up, so you just go with it until it stops. That's exactly what these readings are showing us. So keep doing that, and everything will be fantastic. As always, though, I will keep putting up details on Skype chat. Trade well, and talk to you later.